And here we are then folks, the final build of Special Projects Pack number 13. I hope you've enjoyed me for the journey once again. A bit more of, as you could kind of tell, a quote-unquote normal car focused kind of selection. Some returning faces for sure, but none of the cars were too crazy this time around. Stuff which is a bit more forgiving maybe, a bit more accessible to some players. Minus the XJ13, of course. This one, of course, I've always got to get a rally build in there somewhere. This one is a follow-on from last month, I think it was, possibly the month before. I think it was last time. I did the GT4R Camaro build, which was a bit of a weird car in terms of setting it up, but that, of course, was a reference to Dirt Rally 2.0. This one is as well, but I've had to make it a bit of a hybrid because I couldn't find a livery that anyone had done which looked entirely accurate to that game. So I've gone for just a completely different theme of rally livery, which still has that kind of basic approach to a GT4 rally car kind of look. And the one thing which you'll notice if you download this player's livery is that mine has a wing and theirs doesn't, because they didn't fit it, and in order to make it look like that Dirt Rally 2.0 kind of vibe, you do need to fit the rear wing. And obviously that will make a difference to the point level as well, so bear that in mind. Now, as far as the build goes, I am, as with the Camaro, using Dirt Rally as the source for specs, which is why it's surprisingly heavy, at 1,550 kilos, and has 500 horsepower. Those are the specs of the Mustang in that game, so a little bit different to the Camaro, if I recall correctly. I think that was, what, like 450 and like 1,450 kilos, something like that. So it's still fairly proportional, but even then, the Mustang's pretty heavy for a rally car. Now, as far as the build, the Ultimate section doesn't have the Stage 5 weight. So if you go for your Stage 1, of course it has sports hards anyway. For the Club Sports section, you've got your power restrictor and ballast and dirt tyres. Naturally, depends if you take it on the snow or the dirt. I actually haven't done the Stage 2 weight though, because like I said, it's still a pretty heavy car, so you don't need to strip it out that much. As far as the ECU, that is fully customised. The diff, of course, is fitted. I've gone for the fully customised manual gearbox for that more old school rally kind of approach. I have increased the rigidity on this one. As far as the racing stuff, we've got the polish ports, the filter, silencer, manifold pads and discs. The suspension, of course, the clutch and flywheel. For the extreme stuff, I've got the steering angle adapter, which of course I pretty much always do these days, and the hydraulic handbrake. I more often than not do that for a rally car. And as far as the Ultimate section, nothing's fitted. So it's a fairly straightforward build. Even the point level isn't too high, given that it is pretty powerful for a rally build, and obviously the weight is going to have a lot to do with that. So, as far as the actual settings go, you want your ride height slightly different on the front compared to the back. So 135 on the front is what I've got, 150 on the rear. And if we jump back out, you can see that's pretty much level on this car. So it naturally sits lower at the front anyway, or lower at the front anyway. So I've got it basically even, because you don't want it to look like a snowplow or having its backside dragging on the ground, because neither of those are ideal for a rally car. We've got anti-roll set on 4, 20 and 30 for the dampers, so pretty low. This one is definitely simpler to tune than the Camaro was. I'm not entirely sure why the Camaro is as strange as it is in terms of how it responds to tuning, at least on the dirt, but this one, much more straightforward. 2.75 on the springs though, 1.5 degrees of camber on the front, nothing on the back for this one. As far as the toe, I've towed in 0.10 on the front and then no toe at all on the back end. As far as the diff, I've opted for 30, 40 and 40. That suits me for this one. Give it a try. If you don't like it, of course, you can always adjust it. As far as the manual transmission, we've got 260 kilometers an hour. So what's that, about 165 miles an hour? Probably somewhere around there, which, I mean, let's be honest, that's more than enough for a rally car. As far as the ballast, you want 54 kilos to bring us up to the dirt rally weight. I've put that all the way to the front, which is probably the opposite to what you'd think. The reason for that is because you can really use the length of the Mustang and use the lack of weight over the rear end to power slide, you might say, through corners, and it really works to its advantage. Whereas with the Camaro, if you'll recall, I had to pretty much do the exact opposite because the handling was really weird unless I put more weight over the rear end, which is very strange for a muscle car, but there you go. As far as the ECU, that is fully customized. As far as the downforce, of course, that is one of the things that will be different, depending on if you keep it as the player did it or if you do fit the rear wing. So I've got that set as high as it can go. And for all the other stuff, you can see it all there. So it's pretty simple, like I said. Now, of course, if we jump out to a dirt track, I'll show you what it's like in practice, and of course, run through my notes. Now, the notes that I have on this one are a bit different to what I was expecting, and they're certainly different to the Camaro, because this car loves to be pushed really hard. Sounds like an obvious thing to say, but sometimes with a car that has this kind of power, especially going through the back end, it's not traditionally a muscle car, And yet, with all of that being said, you barely need to use the brakes. In fact, using the brakes can sometimes throw off your flow in this one. So as much as you can, you want to throw it in aggressively into the corner and then trust, for want of a better term, that the car will power itself through. You can use that length, use that counterbalance to swing the car through the corner, and then just control the car using that throttle, powering through and powering out of the curve. It's actually surprisingly responsive to use if you use that kind of approach. If you do decide to use it, of course I hope you have a ton of fun with it, and as a reference to how quick this thing can be, this is about 0.1 of a second behind my rally build for the 911, the RGT rally, that I did ages and ages ago in special projects. That Porsche has a huge weight advantage, if I recall correctly, and I mean, for a start, it's a Porsche 911, so of course you expect it to be quicker. That thing is easy to drive and so quick. So for this to be anywhere close to that, even with this kind of weight, it shows just how good of a platform the Mustang can be as a rally car. And of course, technically we already have the Mustang rally car, but this one, it's a bit more realistic. In fact, really, it's a lot more realistic if you compare it to a four-wheel drive Group B version of a Mustang. And overall, I hope you've enjoyed pack number 13. Of course, I will see you in future with another pack. We'll have to see what Polyphony brings us this month. And in the meantime, you've got some new builds to hopefully enjoy. But if you're new to the channel and you're checking out this one first, of course, check out the hundreds of other builds that I've done here on the channel, and until next time, I'll see you then. But for now, thanks for watching.